the story. It's my story, but I think it's a story that all of us will relate to. But before I do so, I just want to ask everyone a couple of questions. How many of you here speak more than one language? How many of you here do not speak English as a first language? How many of you here at some point in your life felt you were mocked for speaking broken English, or conversely, mocked for not speaking your mother tongue properly? Me. So I can relate. My parents came to the United States in pursuit of their American dream. But they were two immigrants who lacked a higher education, and they worked really hard for multiple minimum wage jobs just to survive. I didn't realize how different my life was until I started school. At home, I was taught a culture and a language that diverged from what I was exposed to in the classrooms. Teachers would often struggle to pronounce my name, kids would make fun of me for having coconut oil in my hair or having lunches that smelled pungent. So I spent the better part of my childhood trying to hide who I was. So I was kind of living with two different personas. At home, I was myself, and at school, I was a different person. And I thought to myself, if I didn't look the way I did, somehow my life would be easier. This culture that I had, the language that I spoke, the food that I ate, somehow I felt like it made me less worthy than everyone else. All of these feelings, this subconscious inferiority complex, this need to assimilate, this rejection of my culture, is all something called colonial mentality. So what is colonial mentality? Colonial mentality is a form of self-stigma that a lot of people from colonized countries face, because they attach more value to the colonizer's culture over their own. And this makes it very difficult for people to reconcile their ethnic and cultural identity. So just as I was figuring out how to assimilate into my American classroom, my parents decided to pull a complete 180 and send me to a boarding school in India. So, when I went there, I was again mocked, but I was not mocked for being too brown, I was mocked for being whitewashed. Before I explain what whitewashing is, I'm going to show you pictures of two fruit. You see a coconut and a banana here. And these are two fruits that have a commonality other than just being fruit. Let me give you a hint what it is. Does that help? No? Well, let me explain. So coconut and banana are terms used to refer to South or East Asian people who embody more European characteristics or values. Because I was called coconut because I was brown on the outside but white on the inside, apparently. This is used as an in-group slur to refer to people who have forgotten where they come from. I thought it was funny that these people who were calling me a coconut and being metaphorically whitewashed were idealizing being physically whitewashed. So Asian standards of beauty revolve heavily around European standards of beauty. And this is shown through in-group discrimination that manifests as colorism and crippling standards of beauty that is synonymous with the European standards of beauty. So growing up in India, I was exposed to this fairness cream called Fair and Lovely. And all the advertisements were preaching that if you're darker, somehow you're less worthy. But suddenly, after using this cream, not only will your future be brighter, but your skin will be brighter as well. Recently, Lakme, a Indian beauty company, showed us that this was the shade range that they were showing to the Indian populations. I don't know about you, but no one fits in that last shade range. And recently, a bride, on her wedding day, she was literally applying so much makeup she didn't look like who she was. My whole life, I was told to look European but act Indian. And I didn't know who I was because I was told how to sit, how to stand, how to act, how to talk. And I just hated living two different lives, and I thought to myself, this is no way to live. You have to live beyond what is expected of you. So I told myself, my ethnic or cultural identity is not my only facets. So I started to get to know myself again. And as I did, I realized I hated who I was. I didn't hate who I was, exactly. I loved who I was. I thought I was so intelligent, amazing, whatever, but I hated what I was. I hated that I had dark hair. I hated that I had tan skin. I hated that I had dark eyes. I hated everything about myself that made me Indian. And then I told myself, this is just another form of internalized colonial mentality because you're ascribing to the standard that if you don't look a certain way, you're not worthy enough. So even though colonialism has ended, there still exists this post-colonial hangover in a lot of people of colonized communities. And this affects the way that we look at ourselves. And this affects the way that there's systematic discrimination and prejudice against these people. So as we realize, like, okay, post-colonial anger, very interesting term, how do we get rid of it? Well, it's actually, we have to be aware of our biases. Researchers at Harvard created a test called the implicit association test, which measures covert biases that we may harbor towards other people. So this shows us that even though we would all like to think that we treat everyone equally, it's very hard for us to be aware of these biases that affect our treatment of others. So I'm a pre-medical student in America. When I took this test for the first time, I was expecting to receive a score that said no automatic preference towards any race. After all, I'm a woman of color, I can't hate myself, there's no way. But I was shocked to see that when I took this test, I actually thought that I had a strong automatic preference towards white people over other races. So what this told me is that I associated positive characteristics with looking white, or the socially conventional group, or the socially valuable group, or the socially majority group. So I was like, okay, this is a mistake. I'm going to do the next logical thing and take this test 40 more times. And each time I took the test, I got the same result. And it was baffling to me, and I was upset that I associated negative qualities with people who look like me. And then I realized this is the narrative I was fed as a human being living on this planet. Even if we consider popular media, we see South Asian characters depicted in two extremes. The one extreme is the hyper-successful doctors, lawyers, engineers, but seem to be socially awkward in some respect. And the other extreme is convenience store owners or taxi cab drivers. But the thing is, my parents didn't treat either of these extremes, and neither did I. And then I realized that at the end of the day, these people were making fun of being brown like that was a joke, and I didn't want to be a joke. So what does this make me do? This makes me want to disconform to everything that was being made a joke about being brown. And it also created people to have a conditioned mindset of what their expectations towards South Asian people were. So how exactly is colonial mentality ingrained in our society? Well, I propose there's two ways. There's the more active, direct way. And this is embedded in the very fabric of our society. Actions are expressive. They carry meaning from the most mundane to the most significant. So the social meaning of our actions are very much a function of our social norms. And this active colonial mentality can be witnessed everywhere from the way we portray fictional media characters to even diversity quotas. Let's consider diversity quotas, for example. In theory, they're a good thing, right? You're including more people, you're creating some kind of diversity and inclusion. But what's happening is that you're grouping brown and black bodies into a collective experience and minimizing their struggles. You're making people want to compete with each other. Your job under the diversity quota is to educate everyone, and you're the in-house diversity expert. But the thing is, if you don't ascribe to the cultures of the society and you don't assimilate, guess what? You'll just be replaced by another more needy and poor candidate. And this creates bad behavior between people of color because we don't feel like there's not enough spaces at the table for us. The second, more indirect way colonial mentality is ingrained in our society is through this passive, indirect, insidious way. And this can be seen in the very bodies of colonized people. It's through their life narratives, it's through this ubiquitous cultural rite of passage in attempts for them to assimilate or reconcile their ethnic and cultural identity. So what does this mean? Imagine that the trauma that you were experiencing was reinforced by the government through legal exclusion, through societal norms, through economic systems, through legal ideology that has systematically denied your people access to positive reflections of themselves, access to resources, access to education, and access to being basic human dignity. And guess what? This is a repeated, ongoing violation, deprivation, and exploitation that leads to a trauma not just on an individual level, but also the collective. So this creates an intergenerational historical trauma. So colonialism at its root is about control. It's about exerting agency. So what happened was a group of people decided to exert agency over another group of people. But guess what? They left. They left, they're living their beautiful liberal lives in their beautiful liberal countries. But when we think about colonized countries, we think of third world countries with backward values and poverty. But ask yourselves, who instilled those values? Who drained the resources? Who drained all of the wealth that they could have been a beautiful country? Colonizers. So colonizers control what is imaginable. They control the future. This is a map of the world. This is a map of the world that has been colonized by some kind of European power. Everything I'm telling you today comes from my experience as a daughter of two immigrants from subcontinent India. And colonialism in India meant a political system that used the caste system of India to the political needs of the British control state. So what this created was two different castes, the higher caste and the lower caste. The higher castes were considered the Aryans, or the colonial measurement of racial purity. And then the lower castes were shunned off to villages. And guess what? My parents came from those villages. If this is what colonialism meant in India, imagine what it could mean for the rest of the world. So how do we, as a society, overcome colonial mentality? Unfortunately, we cannot rewrite history, but we can relearn history. And as we relearn history, we must pay attention to the intimate, authentic struggles related to the issues of colonized communities. See, the thing is, diversity and inclusion is present everywhere. It's present in our ecosystems, it's present in our bodies. If we look at our body, we all started off as stem cells. Sorry, I have to bring science into this, I'm going to school. So we all started off as stem cells. And these stem cells then differentiated with specialized functions that have one goal of promoting your health and well-being. But the minute your body goes into a disease state, one type of cell is overpowering another type of cell. There's an uprising. But guess what? Your body has intrinsic measures to protect against this. So once your body goes into a disease state, you'll come back, you'll be happy and healthy. The system is restored. So if we have this intrinsic system in our own body, why don't we have this for our own minds? Why aren't we trying to repair this diseased mindset that prevails our countries? So when you leave here today, I want everyone to question their values. Question your belief systems. Question what you were raised with. Ask yourself reflective, introspective questions. Are your beliefs inclusive? Are they intersectional? Or are they self-serving? I'm standing here with you today with an incredible love of humanity, but I will be the first one to admit my interests were also independent. They didn't care about the collective. And the thing is, I actively removed that mindset as I relearned history, as I decolonized my mind. See, the human mind is very powerful. Watching is like acting to the brain. So we model our behavior of those individuals whose actions seem to be getting rewarded. So what this means is that we all have the capacity to influence people because we're being observed. And as we influence others, it's a privilege and a responsibility that we should not take lightly. Because once we decolonize our mind, we will create a chain reaction, a domino effect, that will decolonize all systems of power. It will decolonize academia, politics, health, wealth, sexuality, and even importantly, history. So when you leave here today, we have to understand that we're not free till all of us are free. And unless you're advocating for the humanity, you cannot be meaningfully advocating for yourself. So please, decolonize your mind.